Hey everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Furkan Dandia, and today I will be reflecting on Franz Kafka's book, The Trial. And this reflection is called The Bureaucratic Pain. So, in typical Kafkaesque fashion, Franz Kafka, his book, The Trial, depicts a bureaucratic system that often does not know what it is doing. There's no clear process that allows an individual to understand what is happening or how to proceed. At its core, the trial portrays the breakdowns of a legal system that is meant to protect an individual's rights. What is remarkable, however, is how prophetic Kafka's work became. This work was published a year after his death, and it offers a haunting vision of institutions consumed by their own processes, losing sight of the very people they were created to serve. Bureaucracy does not begin without purpose, but Kafka warns us that it can become self perpetuating, employing people who faithfully carry out their tasks while becoming increasingly disconnected from how their work serves the enterprise as a whole. In the book, the protagonist, Joseph K., who's known simply as K throughout the book, experiences this firsthand. He is arrested and charged with a crime he is never told he has committed. Initially, he dismisses the situation because it's absurd to be real. Yet, as everyone around him insists that he should be worried while offering no meaningful explanation or direction, uncertainty slowly gives way to anxiety. It is not the accusation itself that consumes him, but the inability to understand the system he is trapped within. His life becomes increasingly dominated by confusion, fear, and helplessness. This is perhaps Kafka's greatest insight. Bureaucracy is not painful simply because it is inefficient. It is painful because it erodes our sense of agency. When no one can explain the rules, when responsibility is endlessly deferred to another department or another procedure, and where every answer creates two more questions, we begin to question ourselves rather than the system. Human beings can tolerate hardship remarkably well, but meaninglessness and certainty have a way of quietly unraveling us. What lessons can we draw from Kafka today? Across many of our institutions, government, healthcare, education, corporations, legal systems, and even digital platforms, people increasingly describe feeling trapped in processes that appear to value procedure over people. Many individuals working within these systems are doing their best, yet they themselves are constrained by policies they neither created nor fully understand. The problem is often not malicious intent, but fragmentation. Everyone performs their role, yet fewer people see how the entire system functions. Psychologically, this creates a dangerous cycle. As responsibility becomes increasingly compartmentalized, accountability becomes increasingly diffuse. People stop asking whether the system is accomplishing its purpose and instead focus on whether they have followed the correct procedure. Over time, process replaces purpose. In the trial, Joseph K. slowly begins to adapt to an irrational system rather than questioning whether the system itself deserves legitimacy. It is a subtle shift, but one with profound consequences. Is there hope? Surprisingly, many of the thought leaders I've spoken with over the past year have shared a remarkably similar metaphor, the chrysalis. They describe our current moment as one of transformation, a period where many of the systems that once served an important purpose are no longer equipped to meet the realities of an interconnected world. While periods of transition are uncomfortable, they are also where new ways of thinking begin to emerge. Where will this transformation lead us? The more conversations I have with people outside of formal hierarchies, the more I encounter individuals who are flourishing as independent thinkers. They're not rejecting community or responsibility. Rather, they are reclaiming personal agency while remaining deeply connected to others through a shared sense of humanity. They recognize that genuine leadership begins with responsibility, not authority. This reminded me of a conversation I recently had with Richard David Hames about the African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because we are. This phrase has stayed with me because it captures something bureaucracy often forgets. We each have individual gifts, ambitions, and responsibilities, yet those pursuits ultimately find their fullest meaning when they contribute to the well being of others. Individual purpose and collective flourishing are not opposing ideas, they are mutually reinforcing. So perhaps this is the antidote to the anxiety Kafka so brilliantly described. Bureaucracy often encourages us to surrender responsibility to systems and wait for direction from above. Ubuntu offers a different path. It reminds us that we cannot control every institution around us, but we can take responsibility for our own actions, our own integrity, and the impact we have on others. Agency is not about rejecting systems altogether. It is about refusing to outsource our moral responsibility to them. History reminds us that institutions rise and fall. Systems evolve, collapse, and are rebuilt. Yet, what endures is humanity's remarkable capacity to adapt, persevere, and discover new ways of organizing itself. Today, we experience the process on a global scale. Never before have our actions been so interconnected. What we do in our own homes, communities, and workplaces ripple far beyond our immediate surroundings. Kafka warned us about what happens when systems cease to serve people and people begin serving the systems. The question for us is not simply whether our institutions will change, but whether we will reclaim the responsibility and agency needed to shape whatever comes next. If the systems around us are changing, perhaps the better question is not whether they will save us, but how will we rise above them and become active participants in building what comes next. I hope you enjoyed this reflection. As always, please subscribe or share.